Hello and welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Your headlines in the southeast this Tuesday evening. Unlawfully killed in the Shoreham air crash. An inquest verdict on the 11 men who died 7 years ago. Reaction from the victims' families.
We speak to the crew of the fishing boat that helped save migrants' lives as their dinghy went down off the Kent coast.
More than this, I cannot explain in words. And he said, thank you for saving my life.
Also tonight, the South East Ambulance Service declares a critical incident. So what will happen when staff go on strike tomorrow?
And the parents of a baby girl with a rare heart condition tell us how little Dorothea is defying the odds and will be home for Christmas. Good evening. More than 7 years after a plane crashed onto the A27 near Shoreham in Sussex, killing 11 men, her coroner has ruled that they were unlawfully killed.
A Hawker Hunter aircraft crashed onto the road during an aerial display at the event in August 2015. The conclusion was reached this afternoon. The incident also left 13 other people injured, including the pilot, Andrew Hill. Andy Dickinson has been at Horsham Coroner's Court for us. Andy.
Well, yes, 7 years after this disaster, the inquest into the deaths of these 11 men is finally over. The coroner reaching her conclusion, a conclusion that they were unlawfully killed. This inquest has again heard that the pilot, Andy Hill, was flying too low and too slow to complete his loop manoeuvre when he crashed onto the A27 on August the 22nd, 2015. It also heard that he could have got the Hawker Hunter he was flying mixed up with another plane he performed in just days before. Mr. Hill, who did not attend today's hearing, has already been found not guilty of the manslaughter of those 11 men. But today, coroner Penelope Schofield said he'd made a series of gross errors, that he'd flown exceptionally badly and that there was no evidence of any G-force related impairment that had affected him. The families of the victims in tears as they heard her verdict. This is what their solicitors and their local MP, Tim Lawton, had to say.
The bereaved families have waited more than 7 years to reach this point, and the senior coroner's conclusion will not ease the pain of their loss, but their voices have been heard and justice has been done.
It was a very sensitive and substantial judgment by the coroner, and I think she's done an exceptional job. It has been a very long journey, as she said, 7 years and 4 years and 4 months since that fateful day. The families have had to live that accident for all that time. She has come up with the verdict of unlawful killing. That's the verdict the families wanted. It's the right verdict.
Well, afterwards we spoke to Bob and Caroline Schilt, whose son Jacob was one of the men killed that day. They also wanted to pay tribute to Leslie Polito, mother of Daniele Polito, another of the victims. She sadly died earlier this year, so was unable to witness today's conclusion.
That's the best possible conclusion we could have had, because after all these years and after that trial, we feel that we've got some justice now. Leslie was at the trial with us, and sadly she died last April, and I'd become very good friends with Leslie. Both of us lost sons of age 23. We understood exactly how each other felt, and to not have her here for this final conclusion it's a terrible blow, really.
Well, the coroner said she was reassured that lessons have been learned throughout the flying display community, repeating that these were 11 innocent lives cruelly lost.
Andy Dickinson, thank you.
Now, ahead of a strike by workers tomorrow, the South East Ambulance Service has declared a critical incident as it experiences unprecedented demand.
Bosses at CCAM are urging the public to use other NHS services if their call is not urgent. With the latest, James Dunham sent this from the Royal Sussex County Hospital in Brighton.
It has been pretty quiet here at the Royal Sussex this afternoon, but the announcement from CCAM bosses suggests this is anything but the calm before the strikes. This ambulance service essentially holding its hands up and saying, look, we can't cope with the current demand we are facing. They say they've seen sustained pressure over the last week or so on its 999 and 111 non-emergency services. And in fact, last night, a third of all calls were from people repeatedly phoning up the service, no doubt many checking to see the status of their ambulance. This all comes, of course, ahead of a strike tomorrow by thousands of workers, paramedics, technicians, control room staff, call handlers as well, all walking out in a dispute over pay. The government has awarded a 4% pay increase, but the unions say this does not go far enough to reflect the workload and increased costs of living. The government, though, pretty resolute in its stance today, and it doesn't appear that there will be any movement from its side anytime soon.
Well, we have an independent process that looks at these issues in the round, that looks at the pressure for many viewers faced with higher taxes, faced with cost of living pressures, and balances those with the needs of our NHS as well. And that independent pay review looks at these issues, and we have accepted their recommendations in full.
What we're asking of the government is to sit down, meet with the unions, talk to us about pay, make us an offer that we can take back to our members, something that makes them feel valued and recognised, and something that will help prevent this dispute going ahead. That is what we're asking of the Secretary of State. It's within his power to make that offer.
Well, NHS bosses have been working with the union to come up with a plan of action to prioritise the most serious calls tomorrow during the strike, and the plea tonight to the public from South East Coast Ambulance is to only call 999 if it is a life-threatening call.
James Dunham reporting there. As investigations continue into a woman's death in Eastbourne, detectives are urging witnesses to come forward. Aged in her 60s, her body was found in her home on Connaught Road on Sunday. A 59-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder.
A petition calling for improvements to a subway in Crawley has raised more than 2,000 signatures, almost a month since a boy died nearby. It's thought Tyler Wills, who was 12, tried to cross Crawley Avenue because the underpass he'd normally use was flooded. He was hit by a car and died in hospital. Campaigners want all of the subways in the town to have effective drainage.
The closure of 2 slip roads between the M2 and the A249 has been extended and will now reopen on the 23rd of January. Thousands of drivers have been caught up in daily delays and diversions at Junction 5, where it meets the A249 near Stockbury, affecting traffic between Maidstone and Sittingbourne. The current roadworks are part of a wider project to build a flyover. National Highways says the slip road's timetable has been disrupted because of recent bad weather.
Less than a week after rescuing dozens of people from drowning in the Channel, the crew of the dredger Arcturus are back in port. First at the scene of a stricken dinghy off Dungeness, their actions saved the death toll from being much higher.
Today, the 5 fishermen have been thanked for their heroism and putting their training, which was to save the lives of their own crew members, into saving the lives of others. Tony Green has more.
The middle of the Channel, 3 in the morning. A dinghy carrying dozens of people starts sinking off the Dungeness coast. The RNLI, Coast Guard, British and French navies all scramble to save lives. But it's the Scottish skipper and a crew of 2 Ghanaians and 3 Indian men of the Arcturus who are first at the scene and rescue 31 people. Today, the dredger is back in port.
I was watching on the bridge just like usually, and then I hear the people are screaming. I thought my crew is screaming for me, and then I go outside and check the people on the dinghy, and they are screaming. And then I call the skipper, and then we start the rescuing the peoples. When I see the peoples and when I hold their hands, and then we didn't think, we are nervous, we don't think anything, we just start the pulling and just doing help for them.
We drill the crew on a monthly basis to be prepared for emergency situations. Typically that is focused around recovering our own crew members should an emergency happen, but it looks like in this case the crew have put their training into practice for rescuing all these people out of the water. So my hats totally go off to them on what they managed to achieve. Normally it's difficult to recover one person out of the water, never mind rescuing over 31 people who are in a fight or flight mode, so to speak.
This is the mediums.
The Christian charity The Fisherman's Mission visited the heroes of the Arcturus to give them new clothing. The crew had given everything they had owned to those they had rescued.
From speaking to them, it's important that they get some mental health support and that they have counselling and are supported to process the events that they witnessed in front of their eyes. And it was harrowing from what I understand.
I rescued the first person from 47, and he's Indian and he's from my place as well. And more than this, I cannot explain in words. And he said, "Thank you for saving my life."
But it's not this crew's words that mattered. It was their actions. And those actions saved dozens of lives. Tony Green, ITV News.
Thousands of homes in Kent and Sussex have had another day without water, and South East Water says that supply for Tunbridge Wells might not be restored before Christmas.
Well, John Ryle is at a bottled water station in East Grinstead for us tonight. John, this remains a huge problem.
Yes, it does. Thousands of people across our region very worried tonight, not least because they face this situation with Christmas rapidly approaching now. Let's start in this part of Sussex, East Grinstead, Crawley Down, surrounding areas. Many homes have been without water for 3 days, and South East Water is saying they expect water to be restored in most cases within 24 to 48 hours, but that does of course take things uncomfortably close to Christmas. In Tunbridge Wells, the situation is more serious. Many homes there have been without water for 6 days. South East Water today talking about it being the end of the week before that problem is completely sorted. This reaction today from people collecting water outside Tesco's at Pembury.
I signed up for the information and all I get is a text every 12 hours saying, look at our website. There's no information about the water station I found by the local Facebook group, and it's just appalling. No, I'm worried about Christmas. Well,
they're saying it could be the end of the week before it's fixed. What would that mean for you?
Oh, it would ruin my Christmas.
It's rubbish, isn't it? I think it's because service companies don't really work as private companies very well. They're not looking at the long term. They're just trying to get a bit of money, make good dividends for the shareholders.
It's horrible, terrible. And then no water for 4 days. Nothing at all.
Well, in Tunbridge Wells, I spoke to a disabled man who says he's had intermittent water supply for 5 months, nothing for the last 5 days, and he very angrily described South East Water as being not fit for purpose.
People on the line are very pleasant. All they keep saying is sorry, sorry, sorry. But sorry isn't good enough anymore, I'm sorry. But it's not good enough. There's too many people suffering out there, and I mean truly suffering. Is this what I'm meant to go to every time? These bottles of water, it's pathetic. What century do we live in?
And John, can you tell us what's the situation tonight with Southern water supplies in Thanet? Because they had a serious problem yesterday.
Yes, they did. 15,000 homes without water in Thanet yesterday. Well, we've just had this update in from Southern Water.
Repair was completed early this morning, and throughout the day we've been putting water back in the pipe. So as of 3 o'clock today, we believe all of our customers will have water back coming through their taps. It might be low pressure, and it will return to normal pressure throughout the rest of the day, but all customers should have water.
So some good news there, but the cause of that Thanet problem are not yet clear. Tonight we're told by Southern Water that compensation will be paid to people in Thanet who went without water for 12 hours or more. But across Kent and Sussex, it's Tunbridge Wells that is the area causing the greatest concern tonight.
John, thank you for that update. You're watching ITV News Meridian. Coming up,
we meet Chester, who had a difficult start in life, but thanks to strong sniffing skills has become quite the super pup.
And although today has offered something of a respite in wet weather, we have got quite a bit more of this on the way in the run-up to Christmas. I'll be back later with the full forecast.
And remember, more news on our website, itv.com/Meridian. You can call us, the numbers on your screen. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
If the London Mayor has his way, drivers from Kent, Sussex and Essex heading into the capital will have to pay £12.50 a day next year if the car doesn't meet environmental standards.
If many Tory MPs have their way, that won't happen. They've hit out at the proposed pollution charge as an attack on motorists who can't afford to buy newer, greener vehicles.
Parliament was sitting for the last day before Christmas, and one MP from Kent was outspoken in his criticism of Sadiq Khan's plans. Listening to the debate, our political correspondent Phil Hornby. Phil, these proposed charges don't happen immediately, do they?
No, it's next August the big change is due to happen. This is all about what's called the ultra-low emission zone, or ULEZ. Now, as you'll see from these pictures, there already is a ULEZ zone right here in the centre of London. What the Mayor of London wants to do is to expand it next August to the whole of London, which means that if you live on the edge of London, say in a place like Dartford, well, you might well be crossing the boundary to go to a medical appointment, to do your shopping. Businesses might be going in and out of London all day long, and they'll face this big charge, and the MP for Dartford is furious about it.
The ULEZ expansion will have a significant impact on the poorest in society. It will price out people going to work, go shopping, or otherwise go about their daily lives. It will place a financial wall around London and take away people's freedom of movement.
And he's angry that the Mayor of London did conduct a consultation process. About 70% of people said they didn't want the change, and he's going ahead and making the change anyway. But Labour MPs today said it's absolutely necessary because air quality here in the capital is so bad.
The truth is, if we don't do this, we end up with 550,000 more people unnecessarily getting pollution-related diseases in the next 30 years. We are talking about life and death here.
But Tory MPs dotted around London are not convinced. Here is just a flavour of their anger.
Catastrophic.
Unfair.
Disastrous.
Taxation without representation.
Iniquitous. Outrageous.
Morally wrong.
Debilitating, unfair, undemocratic.
It's about money. This is a cash grab, pure and simple.
Well, as you said, MPs break up for Christmas tonight, but when they come back here in January, this ULEZ proposal is bound to be one of many things they find to argue about in the new year.
Certainly will, Phil. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30 with a preview. Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, the NHS on strike. Nurses take action for the second time, while NHS bosses warn that patient safety will be at risk ahead of tomorrow's walkout by ambulance staff. Also, complicity to murder. A 97-year-old woman is convicted for her role in a Nazi death camp. Music legends pay tribute to the Specials frontman Terry Hall. And a hero's homecoming for the World Cup winners. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Now, last winter, 6 puppies were found cold and abandoned in a metal crate near Canterbury. They were taken to the RSPCA to be looked after, and one of them, a Cocker Spaniel called Chester, was singled out for his sniffing skills.
Now, a year on, he's a fully fledged crime-fighting super pup. Juliette Fletcher went to see him in action.
Chester has taken to his new role as a police dog like a duck to water. This is a training scenario, and his job to sniff out electronic devices and then freeze, alerting his handlers to the find.
Good boy!
But he came from tough beginnings. Found abandoned in a crate on New Year's Day, along with 5 other pups, they were taken to the RSPCA centre in Canterbury, and it became clear Chester wasn't like the other dogs.
I used to take Chester to our local park to try and burn off some of his energy when I was fostering him, and we started off by quite simple things. We would throw the ball for him, and eventually that was too easy for him, so I started hiding the ball around the park so that he would have to go and sniff it out and use his brain a little bit to try and burn off some mental energy as well as some physical energy. Quite quickly he started learning to sniff out other balls that dogs had lost in the park, so we might leave with 1 tennis ball and I would come back with 3 or 4.
So we did try to match him. I think instantly our first thought was, we've got a puppy, we need to find him a home. But because we realised he wasn't necessarily suited to a normal domestic life, we decided to explore other options, and this is when we looked into the police.
At around 6 months old, Chester started his training later than most. But he picked it up quickly, soon graduated from his digital detection course and was ready to begin work.
Cocker Spaniels are very intelligent dogs. They tend to have quite a high drive, which is another trait that we look for in police dogs. He's highly motivated and he's just a really hard worker. Like he really wants to do the role, and he really wants to work hard to get his reward. So yeah, he just makes he's everything that we kind of look for in a police dog.
Whenever we're looking for an electronic device of any type, then we'll use this particular dog to do it for us. So they'll be searching in houses, searching in cars, searching outside for anything like that. And obviously the intelligence that's found from these is extremely helpful to our criminal investigations.
All the puppies, 4 Cocker Spaniels and 2 Terrier crossbreeds have now been rehomed, including Chester's brother Bertie, here with his RSPCA owner. They may have had a difficult start, but Chester now loves every moment of his newfound life. Juliet Fletcher, ITV News.
Now, the Sussex parents of a baby girl with a rare heart condition who had the slimmest of survival chances have told ITV News how she is defying the odds.
Rob Velez and Sophia Fenrick from Forest Row have described daughter Dorothea as a miracle, praising the NHS surgeon who saved her life. Here's James Dunham.
I love you. You did such a good job. I'm so proud of you.
5 months old, so tiny, and yet such a huge fighter.
So she's just the most loving little girl.
She's a very smiley, happy baby.
Born with half a heart, Dorothea's internal system needed to be rewired days into her life. The vital organ stopped beating for 65 terrifyingly tense minutes. Medics warned of brain damage, but Sophia and Rob's bright-eyed, beautiful little girl is thriving.
Her body had found a way to cope with the condition, so she was able to breathe on her own when she was born. So that was the first miracle we called. There's a whole list of miracles, and we've been really blessed.
Every day we've sang happy birthday to her every single day, right? So I mean, we're just really proud, you know. And they say these tough missions are only given to you if you can handle them. Well, I don't think I could handle this, but you know, I can't express the joy.
That contrasts the emotion after Dorothea's heart condition diagnosis, where Sophia and Rob told ITV News in April they were advised to terminate the pregnancy.
It was like the end of the world.
Despite an unsuccessful fundraising attempt for specialist treatment in Texas, hope, faith and a Facebook post led them to Dr. Guido Michelon, an NHS surgeon prepared to operate on a patient weighing 3 kilograms, whose main artery was less than 1 millimetre in size.
The chances of survival here were minimal, probably less than 10%, but I put all my energies into the number the other way around. But in the end, I think we got the objective done. Mission completed.
This is an experience that brought so much into our lives. It's been really tough, and I'm really grateful to be where we are right now. But I think we are just richer through it.
Money can't bring this joy, success can't bring this joy, but fighting for your child's life and being able to bring her home, I've never experienced anything like it in my life.
Full of her parents' love and matched determination, Dorothea will be out of hospital in time for Christmas. James Dunham, ITV News.
Oh, all the best to baby Dorothea. Pip is with us now. Pip, it's been quite a nice day today. Is there more of this to come?
Oh, sadly not. Well, on and off, yeah. It's looking pretty unsettled, actually, in the run-up to the Christmas weekend. But I tell you what, the last couple of days have been thoroughly soggy, so we deserved a bit of sunshine today. Let's take a look at some of the figures that have been coming in. So these are 48-hour rainfall totals. So this runs from 6 o'clock Sunday morning through to 6 o'clock this morning. You can see Sussex bore the brunt of it. Plumpton rain gauge there, 91.8 millimetres in just 48 hours. That's more than we'd expect across the whole month of December. And with more rain set to come through the next few days, we could see a few more rain warnings coming and going. Just something to bear in mind, because there will, of course, be a lot of people heading out onto the roads.
I mean, it's not particularly festive, is it? But for those of us, you know, not so keen on these dark days, there is some light at the end of the tunnel.
There is, yes. Tomorrow is a big day in the astrological calendar. It is the winter solstice. So from there on in, we will get a little bit more daylight every day. Now, the winter solstice actually happens at a very specific point in time. Tomorrow, it will be 9:47 p.m. and it's when the sun sits directly above the Tropic of Capricorn. Of course, for us meteorologists, winter started a couple of weeks back on the 1st of December, but for astrologists, the start of winter is for tomorrow. But for all of us, things are getting a little bit lighter for a little bit longer.
Yay! Pip, thank you
That's
very
what
much
you're
indeed.
looking for. Yay!
Things are looking up. Let's get the full details. Here's Pip.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So we've had quite a bit of rain over the last couple of days, and whilst today has offered something of a respite, the next few days remain on the unsettled side. So further spells of rain to come our way, quite breezy at times as well, but it will still generally be on the mild side. So this is how things will evolve over the coming days. Various low pressure systems rattling their way in off the Atlantic, bringing fronts, and those fronts bringing spells of rain interspersed with sunnier spells and some showers. But out there at the moment, still looking relatively quiet. And for the bulk of the night, we should hold on to largely dry and fairly clear conditions. Underneath those clear skies, it will be quite a chilly night, but nowhere near as cold as it was last week. Lows, nevertheless, inland, perhaps down to 3 or 4 Celsius. A touch of grass frost potentially, 1 or 2 mist and fog patches too. But later in the night, and more especially into tomorrow morning, we'll see thickening cloud and a band of rain working its way eastwards, accompanied by some fairly blustery winds. Perhaps a couple of hours of fairly steady rain across most parts, but much like today, it will gradually pull away eastwards and thereafter becoming much drier and much brighter. Winds easing down again towards the end of the day, so in the best of the sunshine, not feeling too bad at all. Temperatures for most of us up into double figures. High tide times for tomorrow then for Brighton around 9 in the morning and just before 9:30 in the evening. Beyond that, through the latter stages of tomorrow, we hold on to largely dry conditions, but into the early hours of Thursday, the next batch of rain moves across the region, and by Thursday morning, yet another band of rain lining up out towards the southwest. So staying pretty unsettled in the run-up to Christmas weekend, but still on the mild side on the whole.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
I'll have your late news just after 11 from all of us here. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.